Hello and welcome. My name is Alicia and I'm Head of Public Policy at the Evangelical Alliance. And today I'm joined by Peter Lynas, our UK Director, and we're going to be having a conversation around the government's consultation on banning conversion therapy. We want to take our members through the consultation, where we are seeking to encourage you to engage, and what the government approach is. So Peter, for those who are not familiar with the backstory, the background of how we've got to this moment, please fill us in.
So yeah, thank you, Alicia. A couple of years ago, the government committed to an LGBT action plan. Following that, they said they were going to end or ban conversion therapy. And then more recently, what they've done is said in the Queen's speech that they would bring forward legislation around that. We wrote to the Prime Minister and raised some of the concerns we had around that because of what campaigners were saying. And then we've been in dialogue with the government, as have many other groups, and this consultation has just recently been launched. It's a very short consultation, just running for 6 weeks through to the 10th of December. And we are asking people now to look at it and to engage accordingly.
Thank you. And on first hearing, whether you're an individual within the church or outside, banning conversion therapy seems like a no-brainer. It seems like something we should be doing. It's associated with violent acts like coercive rape and electric shock treatment. So why is the Evangelical Alliance taking somewhat of an opposing stance or a hesitant stance on this? Can you explain the position behind that?
Yeah, so great question. We would say we've absolutely got a nuanced approach. When we wrote to the Prime Minister and in public, we've been very clear. We support the end of coercive and abusive practices. But the government has also made a second commitment, and that's to safeguard spiritual support. And we also want to support that because that gives people the freedom to choose the kind of support, the kind of prayer and pastoral care that they want. And again, some campaigners have been very clear they want to end that. And we think that would be really unhealthy and really unhelpful. So we absolutely want to end the horrific and abusive practices, but we also want to create the space for those who want prayer and pastoral support.
And so thank you. So as you mentioned, we are taking a nuanced approach and position engaging in this consultation. And both you and I have had the opportunity to read and reread the 50-page document. But there's a reference point for which the government speaks about a working definition called talking conversion therapies. Can you outline what the consultation describes that as?
Yeah, well, one of the difficulties is we don't actually think it's particularly clear on that. So while that's the very key, and they're saying, look, talking conversion therapies is a thing they're going to look to ban or only allow in certain circumstances. They've said, for example, that doesn't include private prayer, but we've clarified what that means is individual prayer. So that's not really a great deal of assistance. They have said it doesn't cover casual conversations or parents talking to their children, but they haven't been all that clear what is included in it and what it really means. So one of our key concerns is to define that really well. If that's really tightly defined, that will really help everybody going forward.
Thank you. And so, as you mentioned, the language around talking conversion therapies makes this distinction between young people, those under 18, and those who are vulnerable adults. That's the area that the government are seeking to protect. And it has this language around consent. Can you talk us through what is meant by that? How much do we know?
Yeah, so there actually are two key tests. You can do talking conversion therapy as long as you have consent and as long as it's not coercive. And those are two key things. So government is saying you can, but those who are under 18 can't give consent, the government said, in any circumstances. And those who are over 18 can't if they're vulnerable. So our concern there is just to how tightly defined that consent is and to get real clarity around what that looks like. And the difficulty on the coercive bit is we say absolutely coercive behavior should be banned, but the government's saying that could be based on a one-time engagement. And again, they haven't been clear enough in our view as to what that is. So we're asking people to respond around those two tests.
So much detail, and something that I found helpful yesterday in our meeting with the Government Equalities Office is the example that you gave where you talked through a life experience that you've had that explores our concerns around this language of consent. Do you want to share that with us?
Yes, it was great to meet with the civil servants involved in this and explain where some of our hesitancy might come from. I said, look, this is a real life situation I face as a speaker who's invited into places to talk around sex and sexuality. And in response to that, somebody might come forward, and these kind of scenarios have happened where somebody says, look, they're wrestling with pornography, they're addicted to it, or it's a key thing in their life. And I might talk to them about that, how it started, what's going on, what it looks like for them, and how we're going to deal with that. And I might ask their consent to pray with them. We might pray into that. We would name it as a sin. We'd ask the Holy Spirit to come and to change and transform them around that. And if the youth leader or pastor was there, I might say, are you happy to maybe meet with this person and continue the conversation? And as I explained that to them, I was saying, it seems to me as I read this, if I do that with somebody who's heterosexual, then that's perfectly fine. No problem. I can do all of those things. But if somebody is same-sex attracted and wrestling with those issues, it looks like if they were under 18, I wouldn't be able to do that. There's too much risk that I would fall foul of the legislation. And even somebody over 18, depending on the nature of the chat that I'm having afterwards, depending on how I'm praying for them, there's a real danger that I would fall foul of this legislation and what's being proposed. And to be fair to the guys in the Government Equalities Office, they were recognizing the potential for this and that this was indeed a grey area. And so that's one of the reasons we're responding. We believe this will impact on real live ministry situations. And we think there should be the space and the freedom, if somebody chooses to have this kind of prayer and support, to get the prayer and support that they want.
Thank you, Peter. There's just so much to digest in this consultation, and here at the Evangelical Alliance we are here to support our members to do that. And one key date that we want to share with you is about an upcoming webinar. Peter, do you want to talk about when that will be and its format?
Yeah, we get that this is an area that we are engaged in. Responding to a consultation is bread and butter stuff to people like you and I, let's say, but it's not for everybody. So what we're doing is running a live webinar, and that's almost certain to be on the 24th of November, and you'll get the details below. But what we'll be doing is we, along with some colleagues, we'll be helping you. You can go live online, start filling in the form. We'll be explaining how to do that, the sections that it's worth responding to, because that can feel overwhelming. And the idea is we'll take you through over the course of an hour from no public policy experience to being an expert and having responded to potentially your first consultation. And the reason is, just to be absolutely clear, I get this is a tricky topic, but we think it is actually really important to make sure we have the space to offer prayer and pastoral support to those who choose it.
Thank you. And as ever, if you have any questions, please do visit the eauk.org website. There you will find our guide and outline for members to engage in the consultation, all of our positions, this video, and dates about the upcoming webinar. We would appreciate you to continue praying for us as a team as we continue to engage the government and Parliament on this policy issue. Until next time, take care and God bless.